what you gonna do?
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Swanky. We're swanky.
Sweet.
We're swanky.
Welcome
That's what
to
we are.
Miami.
Is that a song?
Yeah. It's a Will Smith song, you jerk.
I don't know most of the songs of Will Smith.
Mm-hmm. Which songs do you know?
The ones at the credits of his movies.
Okay. So you
Nothing
like
else.
no getting jiggy with it.
I know of Getting Jiggy with It.
No Millennium.
I don't know Millennium. Sorry.
He samples well, it's not even a sample. It's just like an interpolation of Rock the Casbah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. People love doing fucking sampling the Clash.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It was that song that sampled Straight to Hell by what's her name? The lady.
You
who
got me.
sings. It's a lady who sings music.
The lady who sings music? All right.
I don't know, man. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone!
Welcome
to Miami.
Worst Cops Ever, Part 2.
The sequel.
The sequel. It's all right. It's Worst Cops Ever, Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
The second part.
The second
for
part.
Bad Boys 2.
Yes. It occurred to me that we didn't explain at the beginning of the last episode what this series is. We were sort of depending on people having already listened to the Lethal Weapon run we did.
Yeah.
So
well, they can fucking figure it out.
Right. So what this is a Patreon produced miniseries produced by our patron John Reimann, who is also my brother.
Yeah, brother John.
He threw us some money to make these podcasts.
Yeah.
Basically, Worst Cops Ever. The original, we went through the Lethal Weapon movies. It's sort of a sister podcast to Fox Mulder's A Maniac, where we're watching specifically for how bad they are at being police officers. So for this series, we're doing that same thing to the Bad Boys movies.
Yes, we are.
And if you listened to the last episode, they're kind of bad.
Yeah.
They're kind of bad at being cops. They're kind of bad boys, yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You know?
I don't know, man.
If they come for you.
Particularly if they come for me, I'm not going to know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because as this movie makes abundantly clear, if they come for you, you're going to die.
Yes. Yes, this is very true.
They're angels of death, basically.
Yes. They're Terminators. They're
Yeah.
fucking Terminators. Mm-hmm. They don't stop until they kill you. And, I can't wait to get to certain scenes where that happens. Where a suspect is running away, they're running after him, and the end result will be that suspect getting murdered. And they don't really have a choice.
You rarely have a choice in your own murder.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess let's go into it.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
Do you want me? I told you last week that I would do the synopsis.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to tell you now, I will do it. I'm going to be way worse at it.
Sure, yeah, it's...
Because, like, you knew, like, their full names and stuff.
Do you...
What?
How closely do you pay attention to the movies that we watch?
Well, I get the shapes and the colors. This is my life, man. I told you I dated a girl once for 3 days without knowing her name. That's not a detail that I glom onto, is the names of people. Mm-hmm. Like, my brain just doesn't work that way. I don't know how my brain...
You're a face guy. You're a face guy.
I am a face guy. Yeah. I knew her face, the person I was dating. Yeah.
I'm sure she felt very glad about that.
Yeah. She doesn't know that I
you
didn't know
her name.
Yeah. No, I figured it out. I just stayed quiet for the first 3 days until she introduced herself to someone else, and then I was like, okay, remember that. You can't forget her name again. Mm-hmm. It'd be really fucked up to forget her name a second time while dating her.
That would probably Yeah. That's a relationship ender right there.
Yeah, exactly. I got a bad brain. It's not a great brain, Tom. Is my point. So here, let me struggle through the synopsis of this.
So does that mean the band Bad Brains can't remember each other's name?
Yeah, they got bad brains.
They got bad brains. I gotcha.
Yeah. So I think Dan Marino's there at some point. Let's start with Dan Marino.
Jesus Christ, that's how you're starting the synopsis.
We'll go out in both directions from there.
Sure.
Okay. No, it's there's a bad guy and he's selling drugs, ecstasy.
Ecstasy, yeah.
Yep. I remember that. We'll get through this. And Marcus's sister is dating Will Smith, who's named Mike, and she's DEA, and she's also going after him.
After the bad guy.
Peter Stormare is there, and he's like Russian, and he doesn't matter much. And the villain, they do a bunch of stuff where they look for the villain. I'm trying to remember what the inciting incident is. Because there's a Klan rally with Michael Shannon, but that doesn't really matter, does it?
No,
it does, because they're selling his drugs there. They're selling his drugs there.
They're selling his ecstasy.
All right. So let's start over.
Well, it's like a supply drop. Yeah, it's a distributor for his. They're not selling it at the rally. The Klansmen are the people who are going to be selling his ecstasy.
Got it.
Do you want me to do this?
I'm not. Here's the thing. One might suspect I'm being so bad at this that I want you to just do it for me. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. Do you want you to do this?
No, you go ahead.
I can keep going.
I want to see where this goes. I want to see if you can make a coherent story emerge. Okay,
so the DEA agent's sister is like laundering money for Stormare.
Yes.
And then becomes involved with the main bad guy,
Johnny Tapia,
thank you. Who's just I felt for him. He's just trying to get his fucking money and stuff out of the country and go to Cuba and start his house.
To his sweet new house.
He kind of loves his family, like
yeah.
And he says it. He's like, I can't move my money without it being on the news. Like he's kind of just surrounded by problems with like bad henchmen that are his family.
Yeah.
And so he's dealing with that shit. And then Marcus and Mike have arguments over Marcus doesn't want to be his partner anymore, and Mike wants to bone his sister.
They're already boning, but they're not telling Marcus.
He wants to bone his sister in peace, like in the open.
They're hiding it from Marcus.
Yeah.
Well,
Mike they met in New York. Yeah.
Mike
and
is
he
hiding
shoots
it.
him.
She just wants to tell him, but Mike's like, no, you can't tell him.
Right, which is some of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Where she starts saying it to him, and he's like, "Oh, you fucked up.
You fucked up right there. You fucked up. Is he coming over? Oh no, Don't do that. Don't tell him that."
So they go on they go on a series of investigations, Michael Bay adventures, to figure out what the bad guy is doing, even though they know who the bad guy is. They're just trying to nail him because he sued the cops a bunch of times.
Yeah, they've tried to bust him several times. It's like 9 or 12 times, and they never get enough on him, and he sues the city every time and wins every time.
So they go on a bunch of fun adventures, including breaking into a morgue, and Marcus accidentally... Oh, he has boner problems because Mike shot him in the butt.
Yeah, Mike shoots him in the ass in the beginning.
Yeah, and then he takes ecstasy accidentally. There's a big old funny scene about that, and he gets a boner. Mm-hmm. So that concludes that arc. We get that arc.
That arc is completed.
And they go after the bad guy while the DEA sister is undercover. She gets made, and the bad guy kidnaps the DEA sister, brings her to Cuba, and they essentially go to Cuba to rescue her via international incident. Mm-hmm. They're all their cop buddies volunteer to help, and the movie has a fourth act tack to it where they just suddenly go to Cuba, and it's amazing. Because I remember
it's pretty incredible.
Shit just got real, and it's one of the most amazing developments in an action movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
because the first time I saw it, I was like, no fucking way. No way. It's one of those things where the movie is technically too long, but you don't care. Because it's kind of like The Lost World, where the movie finishes, and then they're like, but do you want to see a T-Rex in San Diego? And it's like, yeah.
Yes, I do. Sitting back down in my chair and picking my popcorn bucket back up.
Exactly. It's that where they're like, yeah, but
T-Rex in San Diego?
Yeah, you want to see a big action scene in Cuba? And it's like, fuck yeah, I do. All right, let's do this. And then they get into they go to Gitmo.
Yeah, they get into a gunfight in front of Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, Gitmo is the hero of the story. Because Michael Bay is the director.
Yeah, yeah.
And they throw a mine in a guy's face and then shoot the bad guy in the face and blow him up with another mine.
Yeah,
and he's like, that's how you shoot. And then he doesn't become... He doesn't quit being the partner, and he's cool with Will Smith, tossing it in his sister. And then they're in a pool, and the pool explodes, and they go out into the lake, and then they start singing the Bad Boys theme for no reason, they know they're in the movie.
It's a thing they do. They did it. In the first one, too.
It's a weird time to do it.
It is, yeah.
It's like getting into a car accident and then singing the Bad Boys theme.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only reason they do it is because the music comes up in the credits, and they apparently can hear it, and the reveal is that they are gods.
Getting into a car accident and start singing Dido songs.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Bad Boys 2. Perfectly summed up.
That is kind of Bad Boys 2. Yeah, you did it. You nailed it. You knocked it out of the park.
Miami Sign's in this again.
Yeah, it is. The first thing
Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins is briefly in it too.
Henry Rollins is briefly in it, yeah. The first thing I want to point out is that they're undercover at a Klan rally, which, okay.
Sure.
Why on earth would you pick them to go undercover at a Klan rally?
The impression I got is they're so badass. They're like, can it be us? We want it to be us. Mm-hmm. Like, we want to be the ones who do this because it'll be fucking funny.
Yeah, that's basically it, yeah.
They really jump the gun on revealing themselves, though.
They do, yeah, and then their radios don't work, and they end up getting in a huge gunfight at the Klan rally and kill about 8 people, which it's like, well, fine, fuck them, they're all Klansmen, but like they end up killing like 8 people over 2 bags of ecstasy.
Yes, and they comment that because they think it's supposed to be a big raid.
Right, it's supposed to be like the big supply, but this is just one of the supply drops.
Yeah, it's one of the few times they have too many cops. Yeah. And they're actually going in for a raid. But what they do is, okay, first of all, they should get new radios. That shouldn't be a problem.
Why on earth are they not working?
But if you're raiding these guys, have the cops come in first before the undercover cops reveal themselves, right? I'm not like a cop.
I think that's bad.
Really?
Yeah, I think that just I'm not sure. I don't know.
Or do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Don't have the undercover cops who are outnumbered suddenly reveal themselves, and then they have to...
Like outnumbered 5-1. Like they're massively outnumbered.
Like it should be coordinated better where it's like 1, 2, 3, go. But they're like, here we are. Now we have to signal for the other people to come in. And it's like you can do that all at the same time, in case a radio problem happens.
Right, because they don't reveal themselves spurred on by any mention of a crime. Like, they don't see the drugs. Nobody talks about a drug deal. They just start chanting white power. So they're like, blue power.
Yeah, blue power, motherfuckers, which is great.
I mean, it's cool. Also, Michael Shannon is there, and we can't overstate that.
I think I'm going to say this at the top of it. Michael Shannon plays a racist Klan member. I forgot that because he's Michael Shannon and I love him. So I felt nothing but like sympathy for him throughout this movie because, and I might forget that later in the podcast. So like, I recognize, he's a bad guy. He's not.
Yeah, he's mixed up with the Klan, so he's clearly a bad guy.
Yeah, like he's not someone you should have as much sympathy for that I do because he's Michael Shannon. Because there's something about a wounded Michael Shannon that really bugs me. It's like seeing a lion die. Because it's like such a majestic creature.
You're violating my civil rights.
Yeah. Poor Michael Shannon. But not because he's like a
he's a racist drug. He's a racist drug dealer.
He's like a skeevy tweaker racist.
Yeah, it's one of his earliest movies.
Oh yeah.
So they kill a bunch of people for very little payoff. And so like Mike's like, I'm gonna go talk to my my informant Ice Pick. the next thing I want to point out is that when we see Marcus's house, it is a huge palatial mansion on the water in Miami.
Yes.
Like, his house is nicer than Mike's house.
It's amazing.
We only briefly see Mike's apartment in this movie. We just see the lobby of it. But
right, the idea is Mike's supposed to be the rich guy.
Right. So, but Marcus has that's probably, like, we mentioned Dan Marino's in this movie. That's probably Dan Marino's house. Like, that's how nice it is. Like, Marcus's house is the same size, if not bigger, than the drug dealer's house.
Yes, it is $1 million, $1 million+ house.
Marcus is a police sergeant.
Yeah.
He is on the take.
Oh, yeah. 100%, like Murtaugh in fucking Lethal Weapon.
Unless his wife is an oil tycoon.
Or writing
or secretly writing romance
novels.
novels, yeah. But Marcus's house is out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, right on the water.
Yeah, it's directly on the water.
I think, excuse me, in Pain and Gain, I think Ed Harris's house is also right on the water. It's like a thing where Michael Bay doesn't know
he does,
how much cops make.
Correct. And like Marcus's house in the first movie is very believable as Marcus's house. So it's like, I think Michael Bay just got tied up in, I want to show cool cars and cool houses. Like, he forgot what, like, normal people can afford.
100%. Michael Bay doesn't, it's all about just things looking cool.
Yeah, he just likes things that look cool, and that's fine.
Yeah. Also, blanket thing I want to say about this movie, Stormare is killing it.
Oh, Stormare is amazing. Yeah, he's great. What's the next thing that happens? Oh,
I don't have. Okay, sorry.
Okay, the next thing that happens is they are staking out a deal. Like they.
Oh, I guess this is the next thing that happens. The DEA sister.
Yeah, it's It's Sydney. Sydney's.
She does the
deal
amazing
goes wrong.
driving where she puts the fucking her hand on the pedal and steers with the other wheel. Or with the other hand, and like kills it.
Yeah, she's killing it. But Marcus and Mike get involved in this chase too.
They do, and there's a line here that introduces one of the arcs of the movie, which is so funny. He whips out his badge at the car, and Mike says, "He has a gun. Shoot him." Which no, actually, I don't think that's how it works. But the conflict is that Mike is scared that Marcus won't immediately murder people anymore.
Right, and like Marcus is going through like a spiritual awakening where he's really having a problem with the violence and he doesn't want to kill anymore. He's thinking about his own mortality and what's best for his family, and that's why he doesn't want to be Mike's partner anymore.
Right. Right, and Mike says later, he's like, so if some crackhead pulls a gun on me, you won't shoot him? And he's like, no, shoot him in the leg. And he's like, oh, come on, man. And it's like, you want him to execute a drug addict?
Yeah.
Like Jesus Christ.
While they're doing that car chase where he's got a gun, shoot him, and it's a huge car chase and automatic weapons firing. They're doing this through neighborhoods in Miami. Like we see children playing in yards as they're driving by, shooting at each other. Where
do they get their automatic weapons? Do they get them off of a bad guy?
I think so.
Okay. I don't think, and any cops listening, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a cop and you have like your cop guns, can you pick up the automatic weapons of the bad guys and use those too?
I don't know, man. It's video game rules here. I think if I was in a firefight, I'd pick up a bad guy's gun. But they're like in a chase.
Exactly. And again, this is the story of this movie. Is like they chase them down, even if that's a dangerous thing to do, not for themselves, but for bystanders. And so, like, picking up an automatic weapon that's evidence, that has fingerprints on it that shouldn't be picked up, and just wielding it, and then spinning in your car and shooting it out the window in, like, a 180 direction. Yeah. Like, the civilian part is bad, too, but just having that gun, I feel like he would be immediately fired.
Well, and then the next thing that happens is they chase them onto the freeway with like the bad guys hijack a fucking truck that's transporting these cars.
Yes.
And the bad guy starts unchaining the cars and pushing them off of the tractor trailer into the highway to try to stop these cops from chasing him. Like, that's when you stop chasing them, because these cars are smashing into these civilian cars. There's a lot of spectacular explosions that are just bystander vehicles in this scene.
Right,
so many people died in this scene.
There's helicopters, so it's like you don't need to chase them.
You don't need to be chasing them in your car. The helicopter can follow them.
But it's awesome, Tom.
Yeah, it's awesome, but they're killing so many people, including when the boat comes unhooked, it smashes through the windshield of like a 4-door 87 Cutlass or something. It's like clearly some like middle-aged or old person driving this car just got annihilated by a speedboat.
This brings me to my favorite line of the entire movie, which is when they're going with Joey Pants over what happened. Joey Pants says, positive, thank God no cops died. He specifies cops.
Yep.
He does not mention civilians.
Nope.
Because so many civilians died.
Clearly died. Like, there's no way they didn't in this scene.
Yeah. And that really like brings out the mentality of these people where they're like, thank God no cops died. I mean, yeah, the sheep died. You know, the herd died.
Yeah.
But like, we didn't die, and that's what matters.
Yeah, we got to protect our own.
Yeah.
Like one kid sliding down a plastic slide in that neighborhood they drove past definitely caught a stray bullet. Like, and all the people on the freeway when they're throwing cars.
Right. But
it's
also,
like, good God,
you can't blame them because they have no backup. Oh no, they do. There's cops in that scene.
There's tons of backup in that
and
scene.
DEA.
Yeah, and DEA and the helicopters. Like we just mentioned, the helicopter.
Oh, it's more than just that they've been repeatedly encouraged to do whatever it takes.
Yes.
So they chase after the bad guys, do whatever it takes, risk the lives of, hundreds, and then the Joey Pants is like, what the hell is wrong with you? And it's like, you told us to do whatever it takes.
To do whatever it takes. We thought that meant throwing cars at people.
Yeah. You have conditioned us to risk everything for this job. To pretend to be one another and fucking use our personal houses to house witnesses. Like, fucking, where's the line, Joey Pants? When am I supposed to be a maniac and when am I not supposed to be a maniac?
Yeah.
Because you're not making it clear.
It's very
JP.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
They demolish Ice Pick's shop to get him to give up a dangerous criminal who will probably come back and murder Ice Pick once he finds out.
Yes. Oh, hold on.
What?
When does that happen?
That happens after this.
Yeah, I got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Because going back to the Joey Pants stuff, the line I had, because again, it was so telling. Because this is, all right, so he yells at them for getting in the car chase, right?
Sure.
In that same conversation, he says, quote, I do not want these animals taking over my city, so I want you guys to do whatever it takes and do it now. Mm-hmm. That's the goddamn line. That's the
captain. That's the captain
these
of the
animals.
police department. Yeah.
He just yelled at them for doing whatever it takes and then says, now you go back out there and you do fucking anything, you crazy bastards.
You gotta kill these subhumans.
Yeah, it's
bananas. It's bananas.
Yeah, okay, so then they trash the shop. I liked also before they trash the shop, they're just walking through people's yards talking. Yeah. Which I just thought was funny.
Yeah,
they're just like ducking under
clotheslines. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? And they trash the guy's shop, which is bad, and he says it's a pink house 8 blocks from here, is what he tells them to go to.
Yeah.
So what do they do when they get there?
They kill everyone except for Blondie Dreadlock, the guy they were looking for.
Yeah.
And that's what they call him. We never get his character's name.
Yeah. Not only do they kill everyone, they break down the door.
They break into his house. Yeah, even
without a warrant.
without a warrant, without probable cause. All they have is that a criminal informant told them that that's where the guy is.
Right, a vague description.
Yeah.
And then, not only do they not introduce themselves as cops, when the guy asks who they are, Mike says, "I'm the devil."
Yep. Mike says, "I'm the devil."
I can't stress this enough. Those drug dealers have every right to shoot back.
We're going to talk about this in a minute, too. Yeah.
Because they bust in, announce themselves as the devil.
As the devil.
Never saying they're cops, not dressed as cops, no backup, and proceed to kill everybody there.
Except for the one guy. But yeah, even Marcus, Marcus is saying, we just want to talk, but he never identifies himself as a police officer. They're just shooting at them.
And Will Smith uses it as a point where he's like, they can't hear you because they're shooting at you. And it's like he's trying to make a point of this is what cops do. And it's like, no, they're shooting at you because you never started by saying we want to talk.
Yeah, for all they know, this is a home invasion.
Yeah, because he says we just want to talk after they've broken down their door.
Correct.
So it's like Will Smith's point. It's a self-fulfilling thing where he's like, yeah, bad guys will just shoot at you, so don't show them your badge. What the fuck's wrong with you? You can't shoot a crackhead in the leg. Shoot him between the eyes. And it's like, yeah, but only because you're provoking them immediately and not fucking introducing yourself as cops. They're maniacs.
They sure are, Dave. They sure are.
I'm the devil. I'm the devil.
I'm the devil.
Imagine hearing that in a deposition on a transcript of a court witness saying, and then he said, "I'm the devil." Mm-hmm. It's just
they just need to. On top of that, Will Smith kills 2 of the 3 bad guys. One by shooting him point blank in the eye, and the other by shooting him point blank in the back of the head.
Right.
So it's on top of all that, it's it seems like you just executed these 2 guys.
Yeah, it's not going to look like anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's not technically what happened, but that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this scene. And then once they get Blondie Dreadlock in custody, Marcus beats him up.
Yeah. And flips out at him.
And then points a gun in his face.
Yeah. So unhinged.
And then for this is the most baffling part of this sequence.
Are you going to talk about the electronics store?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, first, question number 1. This is another, it's not a question. It's another case of them forgetting they're cops.
Yes.
They have a camcorder.
Bring the tape to the police station.
Yes.
What are you doing?
What are they? It's like they forget that it's like they have no resources.
Why are you bringing this to a Radio Shack, man? This is official evidence. Take it to the police station.
The fuck are they doing?
The other thing is that they show up at the electronics store. Marcus is still covered in ceramic dust and water from he was in the bathroom when the shooting started.
Right.
So they clearly came directly from the crime scene. They've just killed 3 people.
Yes.
And supposedly taken a 4th into custody. I hope they arrested him. We never see him again. He's not with them when they go to the electronics store. So they came directly from the scene of a crime where they killed 3 people and arrested a 4th and didn't go to the police station. No paperwork. No arrest seems to have been made. What the fuck are they doing?
They probably let him go. As we learned from Bad Boys 1 and Club Hell, they don't arrest people who aren't the main bad guy, it seems.
Yeah, they just leave them in the bathroom.
They just get the information they want and leave them to presumably, find them later and try to kill them. Because again, they're leaving a trail of enemies.
Yeah.
They're like Batman. It's go tell the others what we did here.
I want you to tell your friends about me.
Yeah, it's so fucking weird.
It's crazy. There's going to be this one guy who's really, really wearing really expensive clothes that kills everybody, and there's another guy who's just complaining about his dick the whole time.
Right.
And they murder everyone.
That Haitian dude, you know where he should go next? If they left him there?
He should go to court and get a lawyer and sue
I
the
was about
city.
to say he should go to the police.
Yeah, he should go to the police. Yeah,
because he doesn't. I don't know if he knows they're cops. Like I don't know if they ever identify themselves as cops. So that guy might think I was just assaulted, and
they killed 3 of my friends.
Yeah, like I guess I'll go to the hospital. And I mean, obviously, if he's a criminal, he might not. But like,
he is a bad guy. But like,
he's still, as far as he knows, he was just this movie. It's a running theme where the bad guys don't even know Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are cops because they don't do anything to identify themselves as cops, nor do they behave like cops. They pick up automatic weapons. Yeah. They run into places. They
until like Act 3, Johnny Tapia, the main bad guy, thinks they're just 2 guys trying to rob him.
Right, because there's nothing. Their behavior is that.
Yep.
Like he finds out they're cops,
they are bad boys, Dave. They are bad boys.
Yeah, that's true. What are you gonna do? But when he finds out they're cops, there should have been a moment where he was like, "They're fucking cops? Are you serious?"
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm just gonna sue the city again.
Yeah,
that's easy.
That's what he should have done. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, electronics store. Then they bribe a guy for an illegal wiretap.
Yes, John Sally once again. They get him to do an illegal phone tap for
Lakers tickets.
Yep.
Yeah. Floor seats.
Since I moved to LA, I realized that floor seats at a Lakers game is thousands of dollars.
Right. Well, they have all that dirty money apparently, so
he's got mansion money, man.
Yeah. They can afford it.
So absolutely everything they hear on the phone that they're going to call for an exterminator because Tapia's got rats that are eating his money.
Yeah, again, Tapia, I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
He the guy just wants to sell ecstasy and to kids.
Right. This is such a 2003 movie because it's like he's selling all this X. I'm like, ecstasy? Really? We're getting mad about ecstasy? And they show a guy OD on it. I'm like, okay, I guess.
And it's just like that's all he wants to do, and then have a nice home for his mom and his daughter, who he's very sweet to. And like there's rats eating his money, and there's like random crazy hits on his money, and like it's just like, come on, give this guy a break. He's just hollowing out corpses and smuggle ecstasy. Mm-hmm. You know.
He's got 2 Russian guys, Peter Stormare and the Russian guy from Predators, are trying to extort him.
Right. Yeah, and he's just cutting people up in his kitchen.
Just chopping people up in his kitchen.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So they learn that he needs exterminators, which is not nothing they hear on that phone tap is admissible in court because it's illegal.
Yes.
They then show up at Tapia's house disguised as the exterminators to plant cameras and microphones, which are also illegal.
Yeah, it's all illegal. They also do that very loudly. And when they go into the basement, they do that bit with the henchman.
Yeah.
The henchman walks away when it's done, and not a second later, Mike loudly says, "Okay, plant your wires. Plant your wires." And it's like the guy is 6 feet away from you.
Yeah.
Like that henchman is within earshot.
That's movie stuff. Like I don't that's like an aside on in a theater production. Like I don't fault movies too much for shit like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But when the henchman comes in to look for Mike, because Mike says, "Oh, I got to go down to the truck and get some more poison," he looks down, sees Mike's bag just on the floor, looks up, sees a camera very conspicuously hanging from the ceiling. So, like, Mike didn't even try to hide it.
Well, again, that's what I mean. Is they're just sticking them to the walls. He's
Marcus is doing
through.
it in the attic, at least.
Oh yeah. And then Marcus is nuts in this scene.
He's terrified of rats.
Yeah, and it makes him just like bizarre.
Yes.
And it's just like they're just clowns in the scene. And again, a lot of it's tone of the movie. Yeah. But it's like, man, you should. This is why they have like specific people for undercover stuff.
Yeah, Marcus should not be undercover at any because he gets freaked out by dead bodies. He gets freaked out by rats. It's like you get freaked out. he gets freaked out to the point where he forgets what his mission is.
Yeah.
So it's like, you should not be undercover.
No.
So they get caught. He smashes the one henchman in the head with his poison tank and dives through a latticed window, which is incredible. Marcus like Spider-Man's down a gutter. They get into a car and drive off as Tapia's goons are running behind him and shooting him. And this is the thing that I said earlier that we were going to discuss later about how they just busted into Blondie Dreadlock's house. For all Johnny Tapia knows, and we confirm this later because he says it aloud, that he's like, these guys are trying to rob me. I want you to find out who they are. These are just two guys who dressed up as exterminators, broke into his house, attacked one of his men, and ran out. Had they successfully shot them to death in his driveway, there's not a fucking thing the police could do about it. Because,
100%.
Because they're there illegally, doing an illegal, basically breaking into his house, or at least entering it under false pretenses, to plant cameras and microphones illegally based on information they heard through an illegal wiretap, and they have not ever once identified themselves as police officers. If he killed them in his house, they couldn't prosecute him for it.
Joey Paz would have just been like, I don't know what they were up to.
Right. Nobody knew what they were up to.
Yeah. If anything, he would sue the city again.
Right. He could have killed them both on his front lawn, not gotten arrested, and then successfully sued the city once again.
Yeah. This was it's a big failure. They basically break into the house, get caught, assault them, and run out.
Yep.
And it's like, police work. Mm-hmm. They're deep in the illegal stuff, and we haven't even gotten to the kidnapping of Michael Shannon.
We're about to, because what sets it off is Will Smith. Mike steals a bunch of paper shreddings from a wastebasket while he's in Johnny Tapia's house, which, again, inadmissible evidence.
Right.
And gives it to John Sally, who is able to piece it back together, and it's a photograph of a boat, and it's a boat that they realize belongs to Michael Shannon.
Right.
So they bail Michael Shannon out of jail and then immediately kidnap him.
They literally kidnap him.
They do. It's literal kidnapping. The captain even says it later. It's like, oh, you've kidnapped somebody now.
Later they put him in the trunk of a car and forget he's there. They kidnap Michael Shannon for days.
Yes, for at least 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because they make him take him out to show where he picks up his drugs from when he drives it back in his boat to do the supplies.
And when they do the overnight thing, this is when it occurred to me also, they have a wild conflict of interest. Because their sister/girlfriend is in the DEA that they're working with.
Yes.
And that never comes up. They also don't coordinate. They know the DEA is involved at this point. They never coordinate with the DEA ever.
I guess they technically are by including Sydney, but she doesn't appear to be telling the rest of her team about it.
No one's telling anybody about anything, even at this point.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
So it leads them to, they get into they see the drop, they follow the shipment, and it ends up in them getting into a car chase in a car that they steal from a dealership / Dan Marino. Yeah,
they hijack Dan Marino. Their rampage now has celebrities involved in it.
Yes. With Michael Shannon in their trunk.
Yes. And Michael Shannon's getting hurt.
It's a person they've abducted and stuffed into their trunk. And Mike blows their cover by he's following them in the car that they've just stolen from the dealership, but he's following them by driving directly next to them and looking at them.
Right, and they're like, they don't recognize us.
Right, it's another it can't hurt to let her take a peek moment, because Marcus is like, dude, we shouldn't be driving right next to him, and they're like, hey, they won't notice, and then the guy looks over and is immediately like, hey, it's the two gangbangers that broke into our, they think they're other criminals, because he says the two gangbangers who broke into our house the other day are driving right next to us.
It's like they play it for laughs, but it's like, this is incompetence.
Yeah,
it's crazy that the heroes of the movie, the protagonists, big events happen because they're just very bad at what they do.
So it becomes a huge car chase in which several cars are wrecked and a bunch of bodies spill out of a van and just tumble into the street. Several of which they run over. One of which they decapitate with their car. Yeah,
it's a masterful artistic mirroring of the previous chase with the cars flying down the highway.
Correct.
Yeah, but now it is dead bodies.
Now it's dead bodies. Then they crash their car into a bank.
Yep. A rampage. It's a rampage.
Yeah, they're in full rampage mode now. And then they have a gunfight in the bank.
Yep. With Michael Shannon still in the trunk.
And a bunch of bystanders who are just trying to work at the bank.
Right.
Mike and Marcus then chase a man onto a crowded train into which they both fire their guns.
Yes. This is where it gets to be Terminator shit.
Yeah.
'Cause at this point, I don't think it's in their mind to arrest anybody.
No.
They're Terminators. They're just there to kill. Mm-hmm. And they chase him onto this train, fire through the train. Will Smith has a fight with the guy, throws him through the window, and he gets crushed by the train.
Crushed and electrocuted.
Yep. Meanwhile, Martin Lawrence is climbing on the fucking train.
Yeah. And
like he's Spider-Man.
Shoots his way inside.
They're terrifying. Like that henchman running, that henchman is probably like, I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I need to get away. These fucking crazy. They don't know they're cops. They're like these maniacs are climbing on the train and running through it and just shooting at me. Like I need to get away. His last moments were just fear. Just good God.
He was as scared as the bystanders on the train.
Yeah.
My God.
It's also the deaths at this point are like the Naked Gun level slapstick. You have the corpses slapping out on the road and then him getting fucking thrown under the train and getting his head crushed. That's hilarious.
And getting electrocuted. There's a guy in the first car chase that's on Sydney's car. She takes a sharp turn and he goes pinwheeling off the top of a parking garage and smashes through a bus station. It is cartoonish and awesome, but it's so over the top.
It really is. This is where we get to the chief yelling at them.
Right.
And they literally say that you told us to do anything. And he's like, well, not this. And it's like, again, where's the line of crazy, Joey? Where what's the line? I don't know. Nobody knows. And then Michael Shannon pops out of the trunk.
Yeah, Michael Shannon pops out of the trunk and starts hollering, and he's like, "Oh, you've kidnapped a person now. You've kidnapped a person." And they just hand wave that. They never come back to it cuz they just nakedly kidnapped a guy.
Yep.
You can't do that.
Yep. There's two things that happens next, and they're kind of intercut within each other.
Mhm.
So I just want to separate one and say that one of the next scenes involves Will Smith pointing a gun at a 15-year-old boy.
Yep, right in his face.
Yeah, great scene.
It's funny. It's a funny scene, but it's just a 15-year-old boy who's trying to take Marcus's daughter out on a date, and Marcus is giving him a hard time, and then Mike comes up and starts pointing his gun in his face.
In his face.
My God.
Yeah, and then he points his gun at Marcus, which makes it the second time in the series that he does that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
He is very okay with just waving his gun at people.
But we learned that Mike has gone over the captain's head and gotten I'm not sure it's a warrant that allows them to go in and look but not actually take anything.
I have a question about this. Does that exist?
I'm not sure.
It's a warrant. They say that basically means we can't touch anything, but we can break into this property. Like, if you have a warrant,
yes,
that means you should be able to just walk through the front door.
You'd think.
And say, we have a warrant. You would never give out a warrant that instructs cops that they have to break in, like, secretly. Right?
Because that seems counterintuitive, yes.
Right, because that could get them in a lot of trouble.
That could get people killed.
Yeah, and legally it's like they don't know that the people breaking in are cops.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this warrant exists.
It might not. No.
Yeah.
But they get the pictures they need. It's not. They don't. I mean, according to the rules of the universe they're in, they don't really do anything illegal in this scene.
I want to talk about in the scene where they break into the
mortuary. Yeah.
I mean, they drive an ambulance through the mortuary.
Well, the other guys do that.
Yeah, but by their instructions.
Well, they just say to cause a distraction, so he drives the ambulance.
No.
in.
Then he says, "Drive the ambulance in." He instructs them to do it.
No, true.
Because they fight over like, I have a record. So no, it's very irresponsible. I need to talk about the dead topless woman.
Sure.
Because this is more of a Michael Bay thing. Mm-hmm. They do this whole bit where there's a woman with big breasts who is dead, and they call her like the bimbo, and they do this whole bit where it's like you're staring at her tits and all this stuff. Did you notice her cause of death?
No.
She has strangle marks on her neck. This is clearly the victim of a horrible crime.
Oh, no.
And it's used as like a comedy prop in this Michael Bay scene. Like, you didn't notice that? She has bruises all over her neck.
No, I didn't
And they're
notice
like,
that,
oh,
yeah.
look at the bimbo. And they're like doing all these bits with her body. And it's just like, I think she's the like victim of an assault.
She's the latest victim of a serial killer.
Yeah, like, Jesus Christ, Michael Bay. What's wrong with you?
He's a monster.
Yeah.
So in a first for the series, based on the evidence they get from this, from it going to the mortuary, they actually do make a pretty big bust at Johnny Tapia's house. They arrest a bunch of people, and they get all of the drugs and a bunch of the money. So they actually kind of solve the case here.
Yep, not before Peter Stormare says, "You fucking mother." Yep. Because, again, foreign people don't know how to swear in Michael Bay films. Mm-hmm. And then he gets shot by the cops.
He does.
Yeah, but they briefly, the boat chase, where they
arrest them.
Yeah, and they're like, let the Coast Guards handle it, and they give warnings and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, they're actually doing cop stuff.
And then the Coast Guard shoots at them, but they shoot to disable the boat. They shoot its engine. Yeah. And then the guys give up. Yeah. So they actually they arrested a bunch of people, and they got this. I think this is the first in Worst Cops Ever history that they actually solved the case. Yeah,
it's like they blacked out. It's like they hit their heads.
Yeah.
It's the ecstasy scene. That's got to be it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
This leads us into the fourth act, which is Johnny Tapia kidnaps Sydney and takes her with him to Cuba. So Marcus and Mike are like, we're going to go do this on our own. And the DEA guy and a bunch of the other cops notice them planning, and they're like, we want in. It's
literally like a minute of the movie spent.
Yep.
Going from she's been kidnapped to we're now on a helicopter going to Cuba with a bunch of guys.
Well, there's one very important thing that I didn't notice until this watching.
Oh, what's that?
Is that they cut to them getting ready to go, and then the captain, Joey Pants, shows up, and he says, my buddies from the CIA decided to help us out. Don't ask why. Here's this guy. And it's this CIA agent they're being given who is like a demolitions expert and has all of this tactical equipment. Now, we've just been told that Johnny Tapia gets to operate in Cuba because he supplies he's the biggest supplier of drug money to Castro. Why would the CIA decide to help Marcus and Mike out? Because this is a CIA assassination.
100%.
Like this is a CIA operation.
Yes, because technically everything they're doing, it's not possible. It's like, no, there's no way they would have gotten away with this, and they would have gone to forever jail.
Yeah, they would have gone to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, they are being used as they're terrorists.
They're being used by the CIA to assassinate a guy.
Yeah, they're pawns.
Yeah.
The CIA had been watching these guys and being like, so it appears that if we point these guys at a bad guy,
all we got to do is aim them. We'll give them one of our agents.
Yeah.
To help them out.
They'll tear them. Do you think, is it possible the CIA orchestrated the kidnapping too somehow?
I don't think so. I think that the opportunity came like they saw, well, we've been wanting to take out Johnny Tapia. Here's a good excuse. We can disguise this as a CIA operation by making it just look like a bunch of rogue cops going rogue.
Sure. But hear me out. Okay. Like, maybe they Yeah, like they were in on it with the DEA, and they were like there from the start. It's weird because they would have made them patsies, right? They would have executed Mike and Marcus.
Or they would have disavowed any involvement with the operation.
It does seem like they just saw an opportunity, and they were like, oh, let's get in on that.
Yep. It's a CIA hit on Johnny Tapia.
Yeah, and this is where the movie is just a fever dream, because it's like, yeah, this is all bad, worst cop stuff. They're in Cuba, like committing terrorist acts.
Right. They get into gunfights with the Cuban army. Like this is a serious international incident. It would be all over the news, and it would have long-lasting global consequences.
Yeah. When I was watching them like shoot at the Cuban army, all I was thinking is like, this is bad police work. This is what cops
terrorists now. Yeah. And they end the movie by driving 100 miles an hour at Guantanamo Bay. And as I was watching this movie, I was like, those Marines are going to kill you. They're not going to let you get very close to this gate. Well,
some highlights is they also drive through a drug shanty.
Yes.
And murder a bunch of people.
Well, they drive through a downhill shanty town. It's like the scene from Police Story. Jackie Chan's movie, except all the houses explode. And they give a brief line saying these are drug dealers' shacks, but you clearly see like a market and a bunch of clotheslines hanging up. This is clearly like very poor people live here. This is just people in poverty.
Who are like probably forced to cook drugs.
Right, forced to cook drugs because it's the only thing they can do for money. And they're just, they kill 100 families in this scene.
Yes. There's also a scene where they kneecap a guy in front of a little girl. Mm-hmm. That's fun. They also blow up his house.
Yeah.
Why?
Why not?
Yeah. They set bombs. They find the sister. They rescue her. They leave, and then they blow up the house.
We have no reason to believe that Johnny Tapia's mom and daughter were not inside the house when that happened. We never see them again.
Why? It's just a final fuck you. There was no reason for them to do that.
Yeah, it's just a fuck you. They probably blew up his daughter and his elderly mom.
Yeah. Another question. Do any cops die in this movie?
No.
Yeah. They're just madmen. Mm-hmm. They're again, Terminators.
Yeah.
They don't die. Mm-mm. There's nothing at stake. They're never the underdog.
Not really.
It's just them tearing through people.
Yep.
Like fucking like Anubis's army and fucking The Mummy Returns.
Yep.
They're just unstoppable killing machines.
Haku Machente.
Nice. And like that's the story. That's Bad Boys 2.
That's the story. That's Bad Boys 2.
It's fucking wild.
It's wild.
I love this movie, but there's nothing at stake when you watch it thinking about this. Mm-hmm. Again, they don't have any resources for some reason. It's always a small amount of people.
Until they suddenly have helicopters and the CIA and a bunch of like badass volunteers, and also like an underground Cuban resistance force that just happens to be the brother of one of the cops they work with.
Where he's just
God.
Yeah, my brother's got connections. They go there and they're like, we've already made tunnels for you. Yeah. I love when they're just standing on the balcony across from the bad guy's place.
Yep.
And it's like, he can see you right now. Mm-hmm. I also love when they throw cats at them to distract them. They just, that's also like a private security company. Like, these aren't bad people necessarily. They bazooka a bunch of guys. They blow up a bunch of guys with an
RC car.
Yeah. RC car. And they fire at the Cuban army.
Yeah.
How did they get out of that? Because, yes, the CIA clearly wanted it as an assassination, but there's no way they weren't also thrown under the bus at the end for being terrorists. I also love that this is all from one conversation where the FBI is like, we can't help you. And then, again, in like an afternoon, they're flying to Cuba.
Hours later.
Yeah. Wild.
So that's Bad Boys 2.
Bad Boys 2. Guys, thank you so much for going on this journey with us.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I would do the thing where we did with the last series where we point out what's the craziest thing they did overall, but it's clearly the invasion of Cuba.
It's the invasion of Cuba.
We don't need to address that. It's the invasion 100%. Of Cuba. They invade Cuba in this series.
The fuck? Yeah.
But yeah.
So this is the weekend that Bad Boys 3 comes out. So keep your ears and eyes open for our next, probably on Monday, we'll have a We Just Watched for Bad Boys 3. Mm-hmm. This has been a great celebration of everything Bad Boys. They're terrific movies. I hope you have watched them before listening to these.
Yeah, they're an experience that you deserve to have.
Yeah, big thank you to John Reimann, who made this all happen. Brother John.
Yep, Brother John.
My brother as well now. I'm forcing that. Forcing that upon him. Who did this through our Patreon. And if you're interested in, funding one of our or producing one of our miniseries, or just, throwing us some support, it's patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We have a bunch of tiers. You watch movies with us every Friday.
Yep.
There's some great stuff.
Some good stuff in there. We also got a store at tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed where you can get t-shirts, stickers, mugs, posters, whatever you want to put in your house or wherever you want. Put it in your car, stick it in your pocket, take it to Cuba. It's yours to do with as you please.
Fucking, ride together, die together, bad boys for life. That's us. You and me, Tom.
Yep, we're bad boys for life.
We're going to fuck up Cuba.
We're going to go fuck up Cuba.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's all go to Cuba.
Let's go to Cuba.
Woo.
Woohoo. All right.
Yeah, spring break. Cuba invasion. Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.